The silent sentinel breaks. Jackson Hayes hadn't signed up for this. Not really. When he'd taken the position at Horizon Point, Earth's most distant monitoring station, he'd expected endless quiet shifts staring at sensor readings, hunting for anomalies that might indicate new resource-rich planets or potential first contact scenarios. 6 years into that exact monotony, he'd gotten comfortable with the silence. Until the silence broke. The signal came through on a band so old that the system almost filtered it out as background radiation. A repeating pattern, mathematically precise and utterly desperate. Jackson watched it scroll across his screen, feeling the hair on his neck stand up as the translation matrix began assembling meaning from the noise. Calibrating, the AI announced calmly. Signal origin, myriad homeworld, lustre system. Translation approximation, help. Monsters. Help. They burn. Help. They take. Help. Jackson's fingers trembled slightly as he forwarded the transmission up the chain. The myriad were known to humanity, if distantly. A peaceful spacefaring race with bioluminescent skin and a civilization built on art and mathematics. They had never developed significant weapons technology, believing the universe too vast and beautiful for conflict. Admiral Nikolai Volkov reviewed the signal personally, his weathered face filling Jackson's screen within hours. "We've confirmed the situation," the Admiral said without preamble. "The Carracks have launched a full-scale invasion of the myriad homeworld. Preliminary surveillance shows they've already destroyed 3 major population centers and established processing facilities." Processing? Jackson asked, feeling suddenly cold. "The Carracks don't take prisoners, Hayes. They take resources. Living or otherwise." The Carracks were relatively unknown to humanity, a species that operated on the edges of mapped space, known mainly through rumors and the occasional diplomatic warning from other species. Predatory. Expansionist. Merciless. "What's being done?" Jackson asked. The Admiral's face hardened. "The Collective Council has been notified. They've issued a statement of concern and recommended evacuation of remaining civilian centers." That's it? Just a statement. The myriad aren't significant strategic allies to any major power. The Council views this as. The Admiral paused, disgust evident, regrettable but not requiring intervention. Jackson felt something twist inside him. "Sir, with respect, the signal I received, they are being slaughtered." "I know." The Admiral's voice had dropped to something dangerous. "That's why I've been authorized to tell you that the Thunderhead fleet has been mobilized. 5 warships, fully armed. ETA to the Myriad system, 36 hours. Jackson blinked. "But you just said the Council." "The Council made their decision. Humanity has made ours." The call ended, leaving Jackson staring at his reflection in the dark screen, wondering what exactly his small discovery had just set in motion. Commander Darius Way stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, the flagship of the hastily assembled Thunderhead fleet. The ship hummed around him, the combat systems coming fully online for the first time since installation. The Defiance, like her sister ships, had been built in secret, warships disguised as exploration vessels, carrying weapons that technically violated 3 different treaties. Treaties written by species who thought humanity was still finding its feet in the cosmos. Species who saw Earth as a quaint curiosity, a developing civilization with promising qualities but no real threat. Major Olivia Tomor approached, her combat exoframe making her footsteps heavy on the deck plating. "All Marine units report ready, Commander. Drop ships prepped. Medics standing by." Wei nodded, studying the tactical display. "And the fleet?" "UES Valiant, Sentinel, Harbinger, and Relentless all report combat-ready status. Weapons hot, shields at maximum." "Very good, Major." Wei's voice was calm, betraying none of the tension that coiled inside him. This would be humanity's first real interstellar combat operation. Everything before had been skirmishes, pirate suppressions, small actions that could be kept quiet. This would not be quiet. "Sir," called Lieutenant Naveen Patel from the sensor station. Long-range scan complete. Carrack's fleet consists of 1 dreadnought, 3 cruisers, and approximately 20 support vessels. They are maintaining standard orbit around the Myriad homeworld. Wei nodded. About what intelligence had suggested. The Carracks weren't expecting resistance, why would they? The Myriad had no defense forces, and no other species had ever intervened in a Carrack's operation before. Any signs they've detected us? Negative, sir. Our approach vector kept us in the system's radiation shadow. Wei allowed himself a small smile. Good. Prepare for coordinated jump. All ships to battle positions. We'll emerge directly above their dreadnought. The bridge crew worked with tense efficiency. They were all volunteers, specially selected for this mission. Each had been given the choice to decline without consequences. None had. FTL drive spooled and synchronized, reported the navigation officer. Jump in 30 seconds. Wei opened the fleet-wide channel. All ships, all personnel. In moments, we will engage an enemy that has slaughtered innocents without provocation or mercy. We fight not for territory or resources, but because there are cries in the dark that must be answered. We fight because if we do not, no one will. Today, humanity shows its true face to the galaxy. The stars outside stretched and twisted as the jump sequence initiated. In the breathless darkness between moments, Wei thought of Earth, blue and fragile and so very far away. Then reality snapped back into focus, and the Carrack's fleet filled their view screens. They are hailing us, Patel reported, surprise evident in his voice. On screen, Wei ordered. The image that appeared showed a Carrack's commander, scaled skin, multiple pupils in predatory eyes, teeth like surgical instruments. Unidentified vessels, the translation came through with a hiss. You have entered restricted space. State your purpose or be destroyed. Wei stood, straightening his uniform. This is Commander Darius Wei of the United Earthship Defiance. We received the distress call from the Myriad. We are here to answer it. The Carrack's commander's inner eyelids flickered in what might have been amusement. Earth vessels. The primates with barely functional FTL? You mistake your position in the order of things, human. This planet and its resources are claimed by the Carrack's dominion. Depart immediately. We will not depart, Wei replied evenly. You will cease your attack on the Myriad, release all captives, and withdraw your forces immediately. The Carrack's commander actually laughed, a grating sound like metal being torn. With what force will you compel us, human? Your vessels are outnumbered and primitive. The Council has acknowledged our claim. No help is coming. Wei's expression didn't change. You misunderstand. We are the help that has come. With a gesture to cut the transmission, Wei turned to his tactical officer. Weapons free. Target their engines first. Let's show them exactly how primitive we are. The Defiance shuddered as its main batteries opened fire, joined seconds later by the rest of the Thunderhead fleet. The Carrack's ships, caught completely unprepared, scattered in confusion as human-designed weaponry, technology they had dismissed as irrelevant, tore through their shields. They are returning fire, reported the tactical officer. Minimal impact on our shields. Press the advantage, Wei ordered. All ships, converge on the dreadnought. Launch fighters. Outside, space bloomed with light as Earth's fighters swarmed from their carriers, small, agile craft piloted by humans who had trained their entire lives for a moment no one thought would come. They moved with precision the Carracks couldn't match, targeting weapon emplacements and communication arrays. Sir, Patel called out, his voice tight with urgency. I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the Carrack's dreadnought. They are preparing to fire their main cannon directly at the planet's surface. Wei's jaw tightened. Intercept course. Full power to forward shields. The Defiance lurched as its engines pushed beyond safe parameters, positioning the massive warship between the Carrack's dreadnought and the vulnerable planet below. The ship's AI calculated the firing solution of the enemy weapon, adjusting their position with micro-thrusters. Brace for impact, Wei announced calmly. The Carrack's weapon fired, a beam of concentrated energy that struck the Defiance's reinforced shields. The bridge lights flickered as power was diverted to maintain the barrier between destruction and survival. "Shields holding at 62%, reported the systems officer, surprise evident in her voice. "The Karek's weapon is not as powerful as intelligence suggested." Wei nodded. "They've never needed to develop truly advanced weapons. No one ever fought back before." He turned to tactical. "Return the favor. All batteries, fire." The Defiance's response was devastating, precise, coordinated salvos that bypassed the Dreadnought's weakened shields and struck directly at its power core. Secondary explosions rippled along the massive vessel's spine as systems failed catastrophically. Throughout the system, the rest of the Thunderhead fleet engaged the scattered Karek's forces with similar efficiency. Ships that had terrorized defenseless worlds for centuries found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned by vessels they had dismissed as irrelevant. "The Dreadnought is losing power," reported Patel. "Their weapons are offline." "Open a channel," Wei ordered. The Karek's commander appeared again, his bridge now dark except for emergency lighting, smoke visible in the background. "This is impossible," the alien snarled. "You cannot defeat us. You are nothing in the galaxy." Wei's voice was quiet but carried throughout the bridge. "You're right about one thing. Until today, we were nothing in the galaxy's eyes. Just another species finding its way among the stars. But you made a critical error." "What error?" the Karex demanded. "You made innocent people scream," Wei replied. "And humanity has never been able to ignore screams in the dark. When mercy becomes vengeance." The ground beneath Major Olivia Tomour's boots was soft, almost spongy, nothing like the firm deckplating of the Defiance. The air carried a sweet, alien scent mingled with the acrid tang of smoke and chemical weapons. All around her, human drop ships continued to land, disgorging soldiers in combat exoframes onto the scarred surface of the myriad homeworld. "Perimeter secure, Major," reported Sergeant Fynn Kotaro, his helmet sensors sweeping the horizon. "No Karex forces detected within 5 kilometers." Tomour nodded, watching as medical teams rushed past, heading toward structures that resembled delicate glass sculptures, now shattered and burning. The first myriad they'd encountered had been terrified, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with fear patterns until Tomour had removed her helmet, showing them her human face. "They are gathering at the central spire," Kotaro said, pointing toward a towering structure that somehow remained intact amidst the devastation. "Looks like they are bringing their wounded there." "Move the medical teams in that direction," Tomour ordered. "And keep the heavy weapons ready. The Karex will have ground forces dug in somewhere." Their intelligence on the invaders was limited but clear on one point: the Karex never abandoned resources, and they considered conquered populations to be exactly that, resources. Called a communications specialist, jogging up with a tablet. "Commander Wei is requesting an update." Tomour took the device, Wei's face appearing on the screen. Behind him, the bridge of the Defiance was bustling with activity. "Report, Major." "Ground teams deployed and advancing," Tomour said. "Minimal resistance so far. The Karex appear to have pulled back to fortified positions deeper in the continent. We've made contact with myriad survivors, they are in bad shape, sir." Wei's expression darkened. "How bad?" "Medical teams are still assessing, but..." Tomour hesitated. "Sir, this wasn't just an invasion. The myriad we found show signs of experimentation. Surgical alterations, implants we can't identify. Some of them can barely communicate." Wei was silent for a moment. "Our orbital scans have located what appears to be a central Karex facility about 30 kilometers from your position. Massive power signatures, heavily fortified. Whatever they are doing, that's where they are doing it. We'll need additional support to breach a facility like that," Tomour said. "You'll have it. I'm dispatching the second wave now, along with heavy armor. In the meantime, secure as many civilians as possible and gather what intelligence you can." "Yes, sir." Tomour ended the transmission and turned to Kotaro. "Organize reconnaissance teams. I want to know everything about that facility before we hit it. The myriad elder's skin flickered with pale blue light as she spoke, her translator converting complex light patterns into words humans could understand. They came without warning, she told Tomoe, surrounded by human medics treating wounded myriad in the makeshift field hospital. Our astronomers detected their ships, but we thought they were explorers, like others who had visited before. Why didn't you call for help sooner? Tomoe asked gently. The elder's light patterns shifted to a deeper blue. We did. We sent messages to all the species we knew. The Collective Council, the Gypter Confederation, the Volus Dominion. They acknowledged receipt. They sent observers. Then they left. Tomoe exchanged glances with Lieutenant Marcus Reed, her intelligence officer. This confirmed what they had suspected but hoped wasn't true. They watched, the myriad continued, as the Carrax landed. As they burned our cities. As they took our people away to their facility. Some even traded with the Carrax while our world burned. Traded? Reed asked sharply. What did they trade? Technology. Materials. The myriad's light dimmed. Access to our people. Tomoe felt cold fury building inside her. What are the Carrax doing to your people in that facility? The elder's translator fell silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, the voice was barely a whisper. They are extracting our essence. The myriad can perceive patterns in reality that other species cannot. The mathematical underpinnings of existence. The Carrax found a way to harvest this ability. For what purpose? Reed asked. They call it Project Harbinger. A weapon, we believe. A way to detect weaknesses in the fabric of spacetime and exploit them. To collapse stars, perhaps. To destroy worlds from a distance. Tomoe stood abruptly. How many of your people are still in that facility? Thousands, the elder replied. But they may not be. She trailed off, light patterns fading. May not be what? Tomoe pressed. Themselves anymore. Commander Wei's face was grim as he addressed the assembled officers aboard the Defiance. We've intercepted and decoded Carrax communications, he said, activating a holographic display. Major Tomoe's intelligence is confirmed. Project Harbinger is real, and it's nearly operational. The display showed schematics of a massive device, its core filled with what appeared to be transparent chambers. Those chambers contain myriad captives, Wei continued. Somehow, the Carrax have found a way to use their perceptive abilities as a targeting system for a weapon of unprecedented destructive capacity. A planet killer? Asked Captain Hiroshi of the UES Valiant. Worse, Wei replied. According to these specifications, it could destabilize a star. Cause it to go nova prematurely. A heavy silence fell over the room. The Carrax have been developing this for years, Wei continued. And here's where it gets worse. He switched the display to show communications logs. They didn't do it alone. They had help. The logs showed transactions, technical specifications, even personnel exchanges between the Carrax and several of the galaxy's major powers, including members of the Collective Council. They knew, Captain Juarez of the UES Harbinger said softly. They all knew what was happening here. Wei nodded. The myriad were sacrificed because their abilities were unique and valuable. The other powers either wanted a share of the technology or wanted to ensure they weren't targeted by it. Why didn't our intelligence detect any of this? Hiroshi demanded. Because no one thought we were worth keeping in the loop, Wei said bitterly. We're still the newcomers, the primitives who just figured out FTL. No one expected us to notice, or care, or be capable of doing anything if we did. He straightened, his resolve visible in every line of his body. That changes today. We're going to destroy that facility and every trace of Project Harbinger. We're going to rescue as many myriad as possible. And we're going to make damn sure the galaxy understands that humanity will not stand by while atrocities are committed. The Council will oppose this, Juarez warned. They'll claim we're violating sovereignty, interfering in matters beyond our jurisdiction. Let them, Wei replied. Sometimes the right thing to do isn't the legal thing to do. The assault on the Karax facility began at dawn. Human fighters screamed overhead, drawing anti-aircraft fire while dropships approached from multiple vectors. On the ground, armored vehicles advanced through the ruined landscape, their cannons targeting defensive positions. Major Tamur led the primary strike team, 50 soldiers in advanced combat frames moving like shadows through the chaos of battle. Their objective wasn't the main gate or the obvious entry points, it was a ventilation shaft identified by thermal imaging, a weakness in the otherwise impenetrable fortress. Breach charges set, Kotaro reported as they reached the shaft entrance. All teams in position, Reed added. Tamur checked her weapon one last time. Remember, our primary objective is the myriad captives. Secondary objective is data retrieval. Destroy Project Harbinger at all costs. The charges detonated with a muffled thump, and the strike team poured into the darkness of the facility. What they found inside would haunt them for years to come. The myriad, once graceful beings of light and intellect, had been transformed into components of a machine. Suspended in transparent chambers, their bodies pierced with countless tubes and wires, they hung in silent agony, conscious enough to suffer, altered enough that they could no longer even scream. "My God," whispered Reed, his voice cracking. Tamur forced herself to focus. Secure the control room. Find a way to release them. The Karax defenders fought with desperate ferocity, aware that their project, years in the making, was on the verge of being destroyed. They deployed security drones, automated weapons, even released captive predators from the facility's lower levels. The fighting was brutal, room-to-room combat that left both sides blooded. But the humans pushed forward, driven by rage at what they had witnessed. In the central chamber, Tamua's team found the heart of Project Harbinger, a massive crystalline structure pulsing with energy drawn from the suffering myriad. "How do we shut it down?" she demanded, as Reed accessed a control terminal. "Working on it," he replied, fingers flying over alien interfaces. "There's a failsafe, but..." He looked up, his face pale. "Activating it will kill all the myriad connected to the system." Tamur felt the weight of impossible choices pressing down on her. "Is there any other way?" Before Reed could answer, a new voice spoke, a Karax commander, wounded but defiant, emerged from behind a pillar. "There is no other way," the alien said, its voice translated through crackling speakers. "They are already dead. Their bodies live, but what made them myriad is now part of the weapon." "You did this," Tamur said, raising her weapon. "You tortured an entire species for a weapon." "We improved them," the Karax insisted. "Made them useful. And we were not alone. Ask your precious council why they provided the neural interfaces. Ask the Volus why they supplied the containment technology." Tamur's finger tightened on the trigger. "Give me one reason not to kill you right now." "Because I can release them," the Karax said simply. "Not save them, that's impossible, but I can end their suffering. A quick death instead of the lingering horror they experience now." For a long moment, silence hung in the air. Then Tamur lowered her weapon slightly. "Do it," she ordered. "End their pain." The Karax moved to a control panel, entering a sequence with its clawed hands. Throughout the facility, the transparent chambers began to dim, the tortured forms within finally finding peace. "It's done," the Karax said. "Project Harbinger is finished." Tamur raised her weapon again. "So are you." 1 week later, Commander Wei stood before a communication array, preparing to address not just Earth's leadership but representatives from across the galaxy. The Thunderhead fleet remained in orbit around the myriad homeworld, joined now by relief ships and medical vessels. The remaining myriad, barely 10% of their original population, were being cared for by human doctors who worked tirelessly to undo what damage they could. The survivors of Project Harbinger, those few who could be disconnected before the system shut down, existed in a twilight state, physically alive but psychologically shattered. "Transmission ready, sir," reported Lieutenant Patel. Wei nodded, straightening his uniform. When his image appeared on screens across the galaxy, he spoke without preamble. "To all species of the galactic community, I am Commander Darius Way of Earth's Thunderhead Fleet. 1 week ago, humanity responded to a distress call from the myriad people, a call that every other major power ignored. He activated a display showing footage from the Carex facility, unedited, brutal in its honesty. What we found was not merely an invasion but a calculated genocide. Project Harbinger was designed to weaponize the unique perceptive abilities of the myriad, turning living beings into components of a superweapon. The footage shifted to show the communications logs, the evidence of complicity. This atrocity was not the work of the Carex alone. Multiple species, including council members, provided technology, expertise, and their silent approval. Wei's expression hardened. Humanity will no longer accept a galaxy where such crimes go unpunished. Today, I announce the establishment of the Guardian Protocol. Earth will extend protection to any species threatened with extinction or subjugation. We will intervene where others look away. He leaned forward slightly, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Some will call this presumptuous. They will say Earth is overstepping its bounds, that we lack the authority to make such declarations. To them I say this: authority without compassion is tyranny. A civilization that stands by while innocents are slaughtered has forfeited its right to lead. The transmission ended, leaving silence in its wake. Across the galaxy, leaders and citizens alike watched the evidence of complicity and cruelty with dawning horror. On countless worlds, beings looked to the stars with new understanding. The humans, those curious, emotional newcomers, had revealed themselves to be something unexpected. Not merely explorers or diplomats, but champions of a principle that many had forgotten, that the cries of the innocent deserve an answer. They had expected silence from the cosmos. Instead, humanity had roared across the void.